Hey, it's Brandon Dawson here at the Dawson Show. Today, we are going to be talking about preneurs. What are preneurs? You have intrapreneurs, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and investorpreneurs. That's my own definition. A preneur is someone who's interested about building a business or taking their business serious. That's my definition. And the reason I put these into four categories is so that you could identify exactly what kind of preneur you are. See, an intrapreneur works in somebody else's business, but they're really serious about the business of growing personally, professionally, and financially, adding as much value to the business as possible. A solopreneur works for themselves. They're serious about building their business. They're serious about achieving their level of success while they pursue their passion, doing the thing that aligns with their skill set. An entrepreneur is someone who understands how to build a business around their passion, creating value for others, and scaling it to create maximum impact. An investorpreneur is somebody who takes their investment money serious. They treat it like a business. So many people give other people their money to invest, and they don't understand what their money's supposed to be doing for them while they're working. Now, this is really important because it talks about being intentional. It talks about having education. It talks about knowledge and applying all that in order to have your money work for you while you're working for your money. Now, the beautiful thing is this, and by the way, I bring this up because I've had so many people approach me that say, when I save enough money, I'm going to buy property. Or when I save enough money, I'm going to do this, that, or the other thing. But they don't know what this amount of money or the right amount of money is for what they want their money to do for them in the future. So being an investorpreneur, someone who treats their dollars, their investments, like it's a business. They understand how their money needs to work for them while they're working for their money so the money can create leverage within their financial life. So I've created these four quadrants because I think what's important for people to know is how do I succeed and what are the characteristics of each quadrant. So if you're an intrapreneur, somebody who works for somebody else, but you know that you can create a huge impact and a huge cash flow to yourself, then you should learn to be an investorpreneur so that while you're working and trading your time for that money, and this, I just had an Instagram live with a doctor who's a neurologist who says, look, I am figuring out and finding a way to max out every moment for every reimbursement so that I can make as much money as possible. But then the question is while he or she is doing that, what is their money doing for them? How intentional, how educated are they on getting their money to work for them? In this guy's particular case, he was going to work for the next 5 or 10 years to save up enough money to go buy a couple condos. Well, that means you've lost the power and the leverage of compounding money working for you for 5, 7, or 10 years before you put that money to work. You've just wasted 5, 7, 10 years. This is what I love about the kind of work that I'm doing and that Grant Cardone's doing, because in Cardone Capital, you could be putting 10 grand a pop in there and letting it grow while you're working. Cash on cash returns, plus you get an internal rate of return. Like, that's an educated decision. So what are the returns I want to get? Who should I invest the money with? How can I trust them? How do I know they know what they're doing? That's learning to be a sophisticated investorpreneur while you're generating your cash flow as an intrapreneur. Now, being an intrapreneur and understanding in bigger context what you want to do with your life and your career and your financial aspirations is really important because you're either learning while you're working about what kind of things you could do differently or more impactfully where you're at, or one day when you have your own business, so that when you make the move from working for somebody else to working for yourself, you've learned both the great things that you should be doing to create value and the things that you've learned in somebody else's environment that you would never do if you're either in charge in that environment or when you start your own business. So the intentionality that you bring to being an intrapreneur while you're learning to grow yourself personally, professionally, financially, and create impact, that temperature where you're all in doing it with the highest level of cultural, operational, and financial impact, learning from that so that when you go start your own business as a solopreneur and you build that business up, you have those reference points. Or if you skip the solopreneur business and you go straight to acquiring a business that's already in place and you become an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur usually means though you start something and you build it versus being a professional operator or a CEO where you buy something and you manage it. So understanding, are you going to go to building phase or are you going to go to managing phase, right? This is a really important thing because the temperature that you build inside of your own body while you're pursuing your personal, professional, and financial goals will dictate what you carry over the seriousness to whatever you go to do. So we're going to be breaking down. This is something I'm really excited about because Grant and I are going to do a webinar on being the perfect intrapreneur, being the perfect solopreneur, being the perfect entrepreneur, and being the perfect investorpreneur. The preneur part is being educated and intentional about your personal, professional, and financial goals and learning how to impact those at the highest level. And being a great investor is knowing how to get your money to work for you while you're working for your money. So the topic of today's podcast is being a preneur, maxing out your time, value, and money equation so that while you're working and you're putting your money to work, you're getting the highest return. You can do that in a lot of different ways, but imagine a world where if you're a solopreneur and you drive your income to where you're making $500,000 or $1 million a year and you're investing that money intelligently with someone you trust with an intentional targeted return that you can see is happening, how then, you think 10 years from now, what if you saved an extra 2 or 3 million? In fact, most of the solopreneurs I've personally worked with in my career have not only made a lot of money in their business, but they made it by making good choices while they traded their time for their money, like buying their own buildings that they rent from themselves so that in 10 years they have the property that paid off and they own the business, or investing in things while they're generating their cash flow. And sometimes those things, I have a doctor friend, for example, who bought a bunch of beachfront real estate, a bunch of townhomes in California, Southern California, in the late 70s, early 80s. And he was buying them fairly cheap, 100, 150,000 a pop. He bought 25 of them all in a row over the course of 15, 18 years. Well, fast forward to 5 years ago, those properties by themselves were all worth $3 million, $3.5 million each. He created $100 million net worth by buying beachfront property while he was being a physician, generating a lot of income. Not to mention, he bought a beautiful place to put his own house, which is a compound that by itself is worth another $15 million. So sometimes the thing you're doing isn't the thing that creates your huge net worth. But being aware and being intentional about what your money's doing for you while you're working to earn your money is a sign of specific intent, right? Knowledge and intent, action with intent. Don't wait 10 years. Don't wait 15 years. Don't wait 20 years hoping that you can save enough money that then you can invest in it. Or worse yet, giving your money to a third-party person who says they're going to take care of your money, but you don't have specific targets, you don't have specific intent about what you want your money to do for you at some point in time, that means you're not an investorpreneur. It means you're just floating or drifting with the system that's around you. And the system is not designed to maximize your personal, professional, financial value. The system, the monetary system's designed to create fees and commissions for other people to guide and advise you. So you have to take ownership about what kind of guidance, what kind of advice, what specifically and intentionally do you want to create in your lifetime? How do you pursue financial freedom while you're pursuing your passion, doing the things that you love to do? Now, as an entrepreneur, over the last 20 years, I've been an entrepreneur. I start businesses with the intention of growing the businesses to scaling them in order to create value within the businesses. But over the past 20 years, I've been buying and investing in things like mini storages and other income-producing properties. So today, fast forward, with the 2 new projects I'm building, I'll have over 1 million square feet, 1 million square feet of mini storage property. Now, all that is income producing. I have different partners in different projects, but I've been smart about making sure I don't oversaturate in a specific market and that I grow into the next market. So I've been thinking and doing this for 20 years. So my investment strategy in real estate has been very intentional in learning the things that work for me and taking the excess capital I generate and investing in those things. Then I build my business, sell it, and I have a lot more money to invest in other things. So for me, for example, knowing what kind of return I want to create, because diversification is important, I invest money with Grant and Cardone Capital, because then I know I have a real estate portfolio that has multi-family houses with somebody who's got a very strategic approach at how they're buying and what they're buying, where they're buying, and why they're buying things that I call flight to quality. So if the market contracts, those particular properties will go up in value because people with money would rather live there than in some crappy place. Well, that's how they pick their product. They pick the things that might be a little more expensive today, but has a flight to quality opportunity if there's a contraction in the market. Why mini storages? Because when people have big houses, they accumulate boats and RVs and lots of things, and they need an overflow place to put that stuff. But when the market contracts and they go down into the beautiful apartments, the things that Grant's buying, they need to take those same boats and those same toys and they need to put them somewhere. So they put them in storage units, or they put their access furniture in storage units. So I like storage units because if the market's good or if it's bad, people will still keep their stuff. Grant likes multifamily housing that's beautiful and has parks in it and water features and swimming pools and looks and feels like a home, because he knows that if the market contracts, people will flight from their homes to quality, which will be the properties he's investing in. That is a specific strategy. I have my mini storage strategy. He has his multifamily strategy. I have a strategy for business. I want to create a very specific business that returns a very specific amount of money back to me so I can invest in things while I'm working and build the equity in my business. The question I want to ask you on this podcast or on this live stream is this: how intentional are you, if you're an intrapreneur, with how much value you can create for you in the business that you work in order to pursue your personal, professional, and financial goals like it's your own business? How intentional are you as a solopreneur to do the same? How intentional are you as an entrepreneur about what you want to build, why you want to build it, who you want to build it with, and what the value is that you're creating? And then as an investorpreneur, what do you want your money to do over time for you intentionally to provide some additional benefit to your life in the future to create freedom? This podcast is dedicated to those that are in pursuit of freedom, not in pursuit of security. So someone who has a good job, who's not trying to ascend in an organization or have a bigger picture about the value that they could create, I don't call those intrapreneurs. I call those dedicated employees. But for those people who are operating inside of somebody else's system with the intention, specific direction of ascending, taking and learning and adding value in new areas in order to win with the organization and doing it intentionally, I call them intrapreneurs. So whether you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, or an investorpreneur, you need to be critically intentional about the decisions and choices and people you trust in the process of pursuing your personal, professional, and financial goals. Find those people that are examples to you. Emulate the success that they had. Ask good questions about how they had it, and be intentional about what you want to create. And if you do those things, you will put a multiplier on your success throughout your career, throughout your journey of building and pursuing your passion in business, whatever that business is, you'll maximize your value creation in the pursuit of freedom in the process of doing it. So thank you for joining me on the B. Dawson Show.